Hello, and thank you for joining me for today's webinar called Diastasis Recti. What is it and what can we do about it? So, this is being recorded in July, which is World Diastasis Recti Awareness Month. And I wanted to do this presentation just to break down what a diastasis recti is, what can cause it, and some things that you can do to help heal. So, as we go through, please feel free to comment with any questions and I can get back to you at a later date. So, who am I and why am I doing this recording? So, my name is Amy Jane Smith. I am the owner of Connect Health, Fitness and Wellness, which is a woman centered um, personal training and wellness business. I work mainly online with clients all around the world and mainly New Zealand to help them to feel more connected to their bodies. Because as women, we do kind of get given the shitty end of the stick. Or at least that's what we've been told. From puberty to postmenopause, we always kind of feel like our body's set up to work against us rather than with us. And I like to help women get back in the driver's seat so they can feel empowered to work with their body and not feel a victim of their body, which is what I used to feel um, growing up from puberty and having a diagnosis of endometriosis. So that's a little bit of my story. I started off as a personal trainer back in 2015, and it started off just helping people exercise, helping to make exercise easy for people. And throughout that journey, I met a lot of women who said they couldn't do exercises because of this diastasis recti, or because of incontinence, or because of prolapse, or because of period cramps was causing them not to be able to do the exercises that they wanted to do. And I felt a bit helpless and my hands were tied, and I was like, oh no. So I did some more studying and I became a holistic core restore coach in 2018. But I started off doing small courses on pregnancy and postnatal recovery back in 2017. And I've been doing that and learning and growing ever since. So it's an exciting journey. It's an exciting journey. I can definitely go down the rabbit hole. So by all means, if I don't know it, I will find it out sooner or later. So let's start with what is a diastasis recti. It is known by other things, so some people can call it a rectus abdominis, diastasis rectus abdominis. Um, some people have just called it a tummy split, tummy gap, abdominal separation. But whatever name you want to call it, it is a partial or complete separation of the rectus abdominis muscles, which are otherwise known as the six-pack muscles. And it is along with a thinning and stretching of the connective tissue between them, which is called linea alba. And as you can see on this lady, she is quite lean. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but on this side and this side, you can see the lines where the six-pack muscles are. And normally, there would be a line down the middle and you'd see the grid lines of those six-pack muscles. But with this lady, she has got a diastasis recti, and it means that there is a gap between them, just that little ellipse shape around the belly button. So that's what it is. I want to show you this picture though, because I said it's a partial or complete separation. It doesn't mean that it's broken. It just means that there is a thinning, and it can vary between positions and it can vary between distance. So at the top, you can see a narrow or normal diastasis recti, or narrow or normal abdominal wall. And even on that, you can see around the umbilicus, around the belly button, there is more of a gap. So if you ever um, notice during pregnancy that your belly button gets pushed out a little bit, That's because there isn't really the muscle there on that area, so the pressure does go through there a little bit more and push out. So an open diastasis, if you can see from the left, it is top to bottom. So from the rib cage at the very top to the pubic bone at the very bottom. It could just be at the bottom. It could just be at the top above the belly button, or it could be completely open again in a different way. So the first one kind of tapers off at both ends. The last one is quite even all the way down. This kind of depends when you're pregnant, whether you have multiple babies in there, or where the baby is sitting, or how big the baby is, or your your bodily composition as well. All of these can affect. But what I want to make sure you're aware of is that every full-term pregnancy will result in a diastasis if required, because the muscle tissues are all stretching to accommodate the growing baby. The connective tissue is going to stretch to accommodate the growing baby, and that means that there is going to be a thinning. Your belly button is going to pop out, and it's going to stretch to make room. That is perfectly normal. That's perfectly fine. And it's not just pregnant women who can get it. So pregnancy is kind of a temporary cause of diastasis recti, but some more permanent and long-term causes are things like beer bellies in men, or some people who have quite a lot of visceral fat, which is the deep fat that sits around your organs, because it's doing the same thing. It is pushing through, or it's pushing against your abdominal wall, and it's stretching those muscles to make room for the extra fat within your abdomen. What is a bit different though is if you have a beer belly, or if you have quite a lot of visceral fat, yes, it's bad in other ways, but it's not, so you won't get so much doming and so many issues, because you've always got tension along the midline. The thing with pregnancy, if I go back, during pregnancy, yes, everything is stretched, but afterwards the muscles the tension, the tension that's gone on the inside has disappeared. So everything gets a bit lax, a bit like a deflated balloon, and that's when you end up with back pain and the inability to transfer load through your core, because the muscles aren't quite tight enough to get the message across. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I can come back and answer if that doesn't make sense, but hopefully it does. So I mentioned earlier the word tummy split. Now, that some people get a bit scared of that word as well, thinking that it's completely torn, and that's another word that people use. A diastasis recti isn't a hernia. Okay, so a diastasis recti is a thinning of the linea alba, a thinning and a stretching. It's not a hole. And it can be improved through exercise, lifestyle interventions, and if it is really stretched and no amount of exercise, lifestyle interventions, you've tried everything and it's just not going back together, then there is obviously surgery and tummy tucks and things, abdominoplasties that can be done. Sorry, just get a drink. But surgery isn't it shouldn't be the first port of call when it comes to looking after a diastasis recti. There are plenty of things that can be done before you get to that stage. So don't think you need to exhaust all options. On the other hand, if you have a hernia, that is a hole, and it's a bulging of an organ through a muscular opening. So you can see on the right, there are different types of hernia. So I mentioned you've got the umbilical hernia, which is around the belly button, because that is the weakest part. You can see on the lady there, the belly button is kind of pushing out. So that might be a little bit of a hernia, but the rest of it isn't. And it can appear anywhere. So you could get it on the side, you can get it in the groin. And if there's been extra pressure pushing and there's been a little tear in the muscle tissue, then your organs can go through that and it can be painful and it can cause complications and it doesn't go away on its own. So you do need surgery to fix it. So how do you diagnose a diastasis recti? So that's as much as I'm going to talk about hernias, but how do you diagnose a diastasis? So this is me with a client just talking about abdominal exercise and what I'm going to do there. So I can check as a personal trainer who is trained to check, who is qualified in pre and postnatal exercise. I can check. The first port of call, though, I like to always refer people to a women's health physiotherapist or a pelvic floor physiotherapist, pelvic health physical therapist, depending on where you are in the world. Somebody who can check your abdomen, who can also check internally in checking your pelvic floor function because everything is connected. The abdomen is connected to the pelvic floor and it is connected to the back also. So I like to send my clients to a women's health physiotherapist, get them to check it out, and then let me know of their recommendations. Also, people who have helped you go through your pregnancy and delivered, they might do the follow-up checks on you. So your OBGYN or your midwife, they might check you. Not 100%, some might not. So just be aware of that. And then, of course, what I mentioned just before, a trained personal trainer. So make sure when you are seeing a personal trainer that you are seeing somebody who is a pre and postnatal qualified personal trainer, and it should mention on their websites, because you can go to somebody who does mums and bubs classes and give you all traditional types of core exercises, but they won't necessarily give you the right ones. And this brings me on to the next slide, because exercise does help. Exercise does help to reduce the look of a diastasis. It can help strengthen the core muscles, but traditional core exercises can increase pressure within the abdominal cavity. And if you have a weakened midline, you can end up pushing out through that weakened midline, and it causes that weakened tissue to get weaker. And it also causes the gap to get a bit bigger because you're forever pushing and pushing it up and pushing it out. So things like sit-ups, like this person's doing, or bicycles or planks. How do you check? How do you know if an exercise is going to be good for you or not? Really, I think it's if you have any doming or bulging. Sit-ups a good way to check this. If you're doing a little bit of a crunch and you notice something's bulging up in the middle or doming, then that exercise is too advanced for you at that point and you need to regress it back. And that's where a pre and postnatal qualified trainer or a physio can help you with that, because they can give you tips. Coordinating it with the breath and the pelvic floor. So I mentioned a bit earlier that the pelvic floor is connected to your abdominal wall. And if we're holding our breath, if we're mismanaging pressure, we can either push out onto the diastasis and maybe cause a hernia or make things worse, or we can push down on the pelvic floor and cause incontinence. So we like to coordinate everything together, make sure everything's working as a whole, so you can live the life you want to live with everything functioning properly. Now, if you have any back pain when you're doing core exercises, so again, planks, bicycles especially, if the front of your core isn't working very well, if it's all a bit weak and a bit lax from pregnancy, your back is going to take a lot of the strain to support yourself while you're doing these exercises, and you might end up with back pain. So that's another sign that exercise isn't right for you at that moment. And what you want to do is you want to engage your deep abdominal muscles. So yes, we do look at the gap when it comes to a diastasis, and we also, when we're checking it, we look at how deep that gap is, because that gives us an idea on how soft the tissue is and how much what we need to do. But it's not just the six pack muscles and that linea alba that has gone through the stretching. All the deep muscles have as well your deep transverse abdominis muscles, which wrap around from left to right. So you've also got your obliques that stretch, and they can get a bit grippy as well. So checking all of those things out can help, making sure as you do the exercise that the tummy is drawing in with a good exhale to help with that. And that will help to brace everything and should start strengthening those deep abdominal muscles and getting everything working as a whole. And then there's lifestyle factors. So it's not just exercise. I mentioned in an earlier slide, um, lifestyle factors are included. And I wanted to go through what you can do without seeing anybody. This really helps us for life. It doesn't just help with diastasis. And the first one I wanted to mention is bowel movements. Because if your bowels aren't moving well, if you're experiencing bloating or constipation, then that is going to take up more room in the abdomen, and it's going to push through that weakened tissue. You're going to experience bloating more. You might feel like you look 4 months pregnant, even though you're not, and all of those things that cause us to be a bit self-conscious. So bowel movements are really important, and ways we can improve our bowel movements is through optimal hydration. Optimal hydration is going to help keep our bowels from drying out and causing constipation. It's also going to help make our muscle tissue and our connective tissue nice and supple. And that is going to help with healing along with nutrition. So we need collagen to help with healing and to help with the muscle tissue regrowth. And through hydration and protein, we're going to help build that collagen tissue to rebuild those muscles and get everything working well. You'll also need fiber, fruits and vegetables, all of those good things. I'm not going to recommend any supplements here. A good plant-based diet with oily fish, a nice Mediterranean diet, heavy on the fruits, veggies, and fish, light on the pasta. That is going to help give you what you need and give you the omega-3s as well to help really downgrade any inflammation and help with healing. And then speaking of bloating, it might be that you've got intolerances. So check. I'm not saying you have to give up dairy or gluten forever, but if you notice you maybe get a bit more bloated at certain times of the month and certain foods trigger it, that's when I notice it for me. Maybe try removing something for a month and then see how you feel, and then slowly introduce it back and see if those symptoms return, or if you didn't really notice a difference and now you're still not noticing a difference, and then swap it for something else. So say you do gluten for a month and slowly add it back. And if that works, then you know to keep gluten away from you. Or you can do dairy, cut that out, slowly add it back, and just go through all the different things that you think you might have an intolerance to. And that might help. Doesn't have to be forever, but while you're in the healing process, you want to make sure your body's doing as well as possible. Breathing, I already mentioned. So when we breathe, I have got another couple of videos on my YouTube channel that go through making sure you're breathing well. And I will pop a link to that in the description just so you can see. Because we're told, well, I was, society kind of tells us that we've got to have a flat stomach. And I know that being a slender person for most of my, well, all my life, I'm not going to say most of my life, I have often noticed that I'm holding my tummy in to try and keep that flat tummy, and then breathing is compromised. So let that go. The belly is allowed to be relaxed. It doesn't have to be tight all the time. And breathe deeply using your diaphragm muscles, expanding the ribs as you breathe in. The tummy is expanding at the same time as the ribs, because your lungs are still in your ribs, so your chest is still allowed to move. Then you might feel some pressure down in the pelvic floor area. But then as you breathe out, that pressure goes away and the tummy goes in to push the air out of the body. So having that working well also will help. It will also help with getting oxygen into your blood. Oxygen is great for healing. We need oxygen-rich blood to support. And then last but not least, stress management. If our cortisol levels are high, we're not going to be healing our body. We're going to be in high blood sugar. We're going to be high fight or flight mode, and we're going to be not primed for looking after our body. We're just going to be primed for running away from the tiger. Now, all of these things, there's never a webinar without a sale at the end, but all of these things is something that I do help women with in the Holistic Core Restore Diastasis program. So as I mentioned at the start, I am a Holistic Core Restore coach. It was created by Jenny Burrell of Burrell Education, and it is, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't have signed up otherwise, it is the best program for helping women connect to their pelvic floor, connect to their core, but making sure everything's working together and making sure you understand how your body works, giving you the tools that you need, so then you can go off and live your life knowing when your body is working well and what to look for when it's not. So I love the Holistic Core Restore programs. I feel like they just really give the woman everything they need to truly look after your body. So that is the Holistic Core Restore program. What you get, so you will get a deep pre-screen and referral if required. Often I get physios referring people to me, so I don't then need to refer them back. But it doesn't matter whether I've had someone referred to me or whether you've just walked in off the street. I will give you a deep pre-screen just to make sure I know your whole history and I know how to help you best. You then get bespoke exercises. So there's never a one size fits all when it comes to your personal journey, your personal healing. And so I go through those exercises, make sure we've got ones that work perfectly for you at that point in time. And then you get homework to do those, and we progress throughout your time with me. And then lifestyle guidance. So all of those things that I mentioned all play a part in your healing, and we go through those. I don't give you everything all at once. I'm never about bombarding people and overwhelming. It's all guided by you. You're the expert of your own body, and I'm just there to offer you the tools that I know to help you tune in that little bit more. So if you are interested in doing that course or just talking to me about what it is I do, or you want to learn more about diastasis, please get in touch. I do work online, as I said at the beginning, with most people, but I also have a clinic in um, South Auckland, North Waikato, and Pocono. And you're welcome to get in touch. So this is my website. If you wanted to have a look, it's connecthealth.fitness. There is no other suffixes at the end of that. If you want to find a women's health physio, I have a directory on my website. It is New Zealand based at the time of recording this. I am updating it when I find new people. But if you are in New Zealand and you want to find a women's health physiotherapist, then that is the link there. So it's the same website /directory. If you would like to book coaching to help heal your diastasis, to help you connect to your core a bit better, then connecthealth.fitness /diastasis. You can also book a 15-minute call just to have a chat and find out a little bit more. Or you can email me. I'm more than happy to chat via email. And if you would like, there is a free Facebook group, which is a New Zealand pelvic floor dysfunction group for women only. You are more than welcome to join that, though, no matter where you are in the world. I'm always happy to help anybody. So that is the link there. And I'll pop those in the description just in case you don't have a chance to catch that. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And please get in touch if you have any questions. Bye for now.